A very good morning to you and welcome to K24 This Morning, to a morning discussion. I shall be introducing my panel shortly, but just to let you know what is trending on your newspapers this morning, starting with the People Daily front page. Says that politicians trade blame over chaos. That is what is currently headlining the People Daily, and it goes on to say in page 5 rather, opposition leader accuses politicians of instigating violence because of early campaigns, but the deputy president allies point an accusing finger at the state, claiming it sponsored the skirmishes that left 2 dead, including a 15-year-old boy. You can get that one on page 5 of your People Daily. And of course, page 6 and 7, Teachers Union wants learners back in class on day varsities reopen. That one also is in the People Daily. And we also have other stories indeed. Westgate attackers to know their fate today. That is on page 8. And of course, Amina gets significant endorsement for the World Trade Organization. Top job, top position. You can also get your People Daily by dialing star 550 star 4 hash, where you stand a chance of winning yourself 250 Kenya shillings worth of airtime, courtesy of Safaricom. All you have to do is take a screenshot of your purchase and you can send it on our WhatsApp number, and definitely we shall get back to you. First come, first serve. If I were you, I would start doing it right now. That is star 550 star 4 hash, and of course get your People Daily now. Moving on to the Daily Nation, this is also where things are trending, or rather happening, as far as your news is concerned. How politicians plotted chaos. That one is on the front page there. Page 7 is where the main story is. But it goes on to say that since the war for the soul of Jubilee Party began, Murang'a has emerged as a hotspot for mayhem. And when leaders from both Tanga and Kileweke camps ferried youth from Nairobi to Kenol in anticipation of trouble, they found a ground waiting to explode. That story continues deeply in page 7, and of course, right there on the corner, big mess that awaits Uhuru on his return. He's already in the country, and this is exactly what he's walking into, trying to salvage basically what is left of Jubilee cohesion, so to speak. Definitely more stories on page 6 of the Daily Nation. You can also see another story there on page 4, Universities Open Doors. How to ensure social distancing in hostels when nothing has changed. The big question, indeed. Page 4 of the Daily Nation. Check it out for more information. On the Standard newspaper, the front page, the headline says, "The hustler fixing Ruto." Well. Quite a ton of words there. On page 5, it goes on to say that the baby assassin, he is the least known Jubilee Party Mandarin, but the former tout is the man validating the Ruto step-by-step fall from the ruling party, and once an ally of the deputy president, but now gatekeeping for his rivals. Nelson Zuya is smiling as he plays tough and rough. Again, page 5, you will get the full story. And on page 8, what is basically across all newspapers, from Jubilee chaos to BBI, Uhuru's triple headache as he settled in the country from his overseas trip where he was in France. You can check the entire story on page 8. And on page 3 as well, government wants parents to foot COVID bills in schools. That is the fees puzzle on page 3, where parents are in for a rude shock when schools reopen. A training manual seen by the Standard shows that both parents and teachers will be roped into bridge resources gaps. Get that page story rather on page 3. Moving on to the Star newspaper, Uhuru allies plot to kick out Ruto as DP. That is the main headline there. Cutting to size, the first step would be to expel him from Jubilee, leaving him partyless. But also, again, like I said, the story that is making headlines across all newspapers, families of youths killed in Kenol fracas demand justice. You can see there 2 gentlemen on the front of that page. That is 21-year-old Christopher Kariuki and 15-year-old Peter Mbodhu that unfortunately lost their lives in the Murang'a chaos that took over the weekend. Welcome to K24 This Morning. This is where we get to let you know some of the pertinent issues, and I'll be introducing our main story for the day. Do stand by. Welcome back. My name is Mdivo, and like I told you, we do have an amazing panel today. I am joined by Joy Mdivo, Executive Director, East Africa Center for Law and Justice. Karibu tena sana.
Asante sana.
We also have on Skype Justice Minor, governance expert, all the way from Bomet County. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Good morning.
All right, good morning to you too. And of course, glad to have you here. We were expecting to be having Arnold Maliba, where we'd actually have the trio back together, but that seems that it has taken a backseat for now. However, the conversation still takes place, and our topic for today is discussing whether early campaigns are polarizing the nation. Looking at the situation, of course, like we said, the stories cutting across all newspapers, everyone is asking indeed if we are seeing a repeat of what happened a couple of years back when Kenyans lost their lives. And at this juncture, allow me to introduce our question of the day. Kindly interact with us via our social media pages and also our WhatsApp line, which is on your screen. What institution can ensure national cohesion? What institution can ensure national cohesion? K24 TV across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and the SMS line is 21222. All right. Ladies first, Joy. First of all, a very good morning to you. Morning. And welcome to the show.
Morning, Jeff.
Well, I'm answering on his behalf.
Well, morning, movie.
Yeah, thank you very much. Looking at what we've just seen across all four major newspapers, all we can see is chaos and people obviously in trouble and people trying to bring the country apart, for lack of a better word. Maybe I should ask you the same question. What institution can ensure national cohesion at this point? Because our leaders, both from parliament all the way to status, don't seem like they're in agreement as to what they should do in regards to national unity.
I do not think it's an institution that can do this. It's a matter of values. Kenyans need to reach a place where they decide, you know what, despite what you tell me, Mbuvi is my neighbor, is my brother, and I am going to stand by him because we live together, we work together, we are raising our children side by side, and so I refuse to be an instrument or an agent of hate and division.
Right.
And this has been my argument all along. Politicians are able to meet violence because they have hands and legs in the persons of common mwananchi who agree to be used for that purpose. If they came and said, you know what, I've got money for you to go cause fracas, and people decided, you know what, I'm not going to cause fracas. So, okay, I'll take your money, but when I get there, I'm going to stand by the side and eat a banana. Then nobody would meet violence because you do not see politicians running in the streets throwing rocks. You see ordinary wananchi. So if ordinary wananchi just decided, because the National Cohesion Commission cannot do it. The National Police Service cannot do it. The politicians themselves are not doing it. They're doing the opposite. But if every single Kenyan just made up their minds, you know what, I have my own family, I have my own loved ones, I have my own destiny to chart. You do you, I do me.
Myself.
They'll have nobody to do this on their behalf, because all these pronouncements need people, foot soldiers on the ground to do it. So my call to every Kenyan, be as selfish as our politicians are, just refuse to be part of their machinations. If they really want to cause skirmishes, let them get off their bulletproof vehicles and run in the streets.
Okay. Just as mine all the way in Bobet, let me ask you this one, and it might actually, I don't know how you're going to perceive this, but we have two institutions here that are supposed to be bringing Kenyans absolutely closer together than any other institution that we can mention. And I'm talking about the president and the deputy president. These are two offices that are basically supposed to be representing Kenyans on every level. However, if we look at the situation right now, these two individuals don't seem like they are agreeing on anything whatsoever. Do you feel as though the problem is coming all the way from up there, the presidency and the deputy presidency?
Yeah, definitely. The conflict, the political conflict between the president and the deputy president, of course, has engineered and has created a fertile ground for these terror and mayhem you are witnessing all the way from Murang'a. You saw it in Kisii, you saw it in Nyeri. So the conflict of the perception of conflict between the president and the deputy president is not good for the country. And you know, it is coming immediately after the so-called handshake. And in Mbuvi, the other problem that I seem to see is because the handshakes seem to have legitimized, you know, violence as a means to ascend to power. Today, the people who are enjoying state power are the people who engineered terror and mayhem during the 2017 elections, the repeat elections. There were no elections almost 40% of the country. And today, at the dining table of the country, are the very individuals who ensure that the repeat election did not take place in some parts of the country. The very people today are enjoying state power and protection are the very people who swore themselves in as the people president. And therefore, in my opinion, the perception that, causing chaos and terror is a legitimate means of accessing state power. Could be a very wrong perception that even may be repeated in 2022 election, may be repeated again in 2027 election. So today, I want to submit that I think that the main problem lies within the office of the president, the president himself, and his deputy. And I think if solution was to come, it must emanate from that office. It must emanate from the deputy president. And of course, that perception that even the tools of state like the police must be seen to be fair, must be seen to be balanced, and must be seen to be exercising independent administrative and operational independence.
All right. Thank you very much, Justice. We shall be getting back to you shortly as well. Allow me to reintroduce one of the guests that I did mention earlier. Finally, Amefika. It is none other than Arnold Maliba, Public Policy Analyst. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right. And I'll just go straight to you because we're talking about cohesion in this country and basically the chaos that we've seen in the last couple of days. And on page 5 of the People Daily, Raila blames chaos on early 2022 campaigns. Do you think that these campaigns have started too early? And number two, maybe them starting this early, is it why we are seeing so much chaos right now as it is?
Well, since the year 2002, we have always been in a campaign mode. Ever since we won elections, the properly conducted multi-party elections in 2002, since that day, and then in 2005 we had the referendum, then 2002, then 2007, where we had post-election violence. Moving on in 2010, we had a referendum again. Then in 2013, if you were an adult from 2013 coming into 2017, we campaigned consistently from 2013 all the way to 2017. It didn't change because after 2017 elections, we then moved on to the handshake. The handshake in itself looked like it was a campaign. It has remained so till now. So you realize that for the last 20 years, we have been in a constant campaign mode as a nation, which is not very healthy. In fact, it's a surprise that our economy has performed the way it has, because we actually have been a politicking nation consistently and without abating or stopping at any particular time. It's even interesting that the former Prime Minister is actually talking about early campaigns being the reason why we have that.
We're having this chaos.
But that doesn't mean that once in a while the devil wouldn't say the truth. He does, a lot of times. I know that Joy, being a child of the church, will tell you that the devil is the father of all liars. But sometimes he knows the truth. So from where we are, that was an example. From where we are today, truth is that early elections, and these early elections started...
early campaigns.
Early campaigns. So for the early campaigns we are in, it's about succession. And it's speaking to some of the things that we all knew but are acting like we don't remember. That number one, Jubilee was a marriage of convenience. That convenience is over. The Hague is not here. One of the partners has already gotten whatever they wanted. Now they do not feel obliged to move forward going, as in from this particular end. You see, whatever happened in Murang'a is quite complex. I have seen quite simplistic explanations to that particular case, but it's quite complex. What no one is asking is who benefits. Joy will ask, is it cui bono? Or what is that word properly pronounced? The enunciation of that word. Who benefits? So if you are to do a cost-benefit analysis of the violence in Murang'a, then see who eventually benefits in that particular situation, then you can actually tell where it came from. There were aggressors and there were defenders. So if you can actually then work out that equation to find out who are the defenders, what were they defending, who are the aggressors, why were they on an assault mode, then you understand why we are here.
Maybe then we should have that conversation as well with Joy Mdivo. Who do you think is the main beneficiary of chaos in Murang'a County that has seen 2 Kenyans lose their lives?
Definitely not the parents and the relatives of the deceased, to whom we pass our deepest condolences. Because if you think of a 21-year-old and a 15-year-old, these are people whose lives have been cut short way before the prime of their lives. But I found it interesting that both of them came from Thika. They did not come from Murang'a. So that lends to Arnold's assertion that there were aggressors and there were defenders.
Right.
And one of the things that is curious is because we saw a little bit of this also in Kisii, where there's chaos before the event. But once the event starts, there's calm. So that makes you wonder, okay, so why is there trouble before? And when the event starts, then there is calm. It doesn't make any sense. Now, I've had the explanation from one side saying there are people imported to cause the skirmishes for sympathy votes.
Right.
But I look at it, I'm like, you know what? The deputy president is riding a high. He's on a crest. Why is he looking for sympathy votes? He's claiming he's the chief hustler. He's got people on his side. Why would he look for sympathy votes? Then I heard the governor, Murang'a, yesterday speaking.
Yes.
Anybody who wants to come here, I'm the MC. I mean, I listened to him and I thought to myself, are we walking back in time? Because how do you, lack of a better word, how do you just pee around a county and say, I'm the one who owns this territory and you cannot come unless I say so? That's the substance of animals. They're the ones who mark territory like that.
Okay.
This is one country. And so there is a deeper conversation than who is to blame for this. The deeper conversation is our politicians. When you make these plans, when you come up with these harebrained schemes, do you actually think who it affects? You're purporting to be fronting, let's say it's the hustler, or you're purporting to be fronting the president.
Right.
At the end of the day, do your actions actually help your principle, or do they leave them in worse light?
Okay.
And it gets to a place where our politicians have to understand this notion of my people, of ring fencing populations as if you are a chieftain, have no place in today's democracy.
Okay.
We keep saying you can own property anywhere in Kenya. You're free to move around anywhere in Kenya. Then you see a press conference of county leaders who unashamedly say you cannot come here unless we allow you.
I say so.
It doesn't make sense.
Mr. Minor, sorry, Mdivo, but Mr. Minor, there is a word that has been used here a couple of times. First of all, early campaigns, polarizing, and so on and so forth. The fact that Arnold has mentioned the fact that we are constantly campaigning. Number one, maybe you can mention about our leaders being constantly power hungry, because that's the only reason why we would be campaigning consistently, regardless of whichever year it is, whether it's an election year or a non-election year. And the hunger for power, is that the problem that we have? Because if we were to go back to the times of President Moi, and we didn't have this many parties, maybe things were actually much better. Justus?
Mbuvi, you'd be surprised that when Uhuru Kenyatta was campaigning in Rift Valley, he didn't campaign for himself. In fact, he's the one who started the narrative of 2022 when Uhuru was campaigning in Rift Valley in 2017. He would go all over Rift Valley and saying, 2022 ni William. In fact, he didn't ask for votes. In 2017, Uhuru himself, if you attended some of the rallies, and I did, he campaigned for William in 2017 because he knew the best way to campaign for himself in 2017 was to say, yangu kumi, sasa naenda kumaliza yangu kumi, William 2022. So, in fact, the 2022 campaigns, the person who started, in my opinion, and I'm a witness, was the president himself. So the president started campaigning for William in 2013. He campaigned for him in 2017. So for the people around the president to turn around and say, William is, the deputy president has started early campaigns, I don't buy it. Secondly, Mbuvi, I don't think it is in the domain of the people around the president to draw a calendar for any presidential candidate for 2022. Okay. Honestly, that is not being honest. It is not at the domain, at the preserve of anybody in this country, unless it is IBC, to begin drawing a calendar and suggesting that someone has started early. And like my friend Andrews did mention, immediately, the Jubilee, which was TNA and URP, won the election in 2013. Right. Ruto went all over the country, almost campaigning for the re-election of the president in 2017. So, honestly, we've been campaigning for as long as we've been a multi-party state. So therefore, I think the greatest challenge we have in this country is the politics of dishonest. I mean, I say this when it suits me, and I say that when it suits me next time. So I don't believe that, and the tragedy of this country is that if at the level of the president and the deputy president cannot honor a gentleman agreement, that is. Can the president exercise any moral authority to make a pledge next time? Can the deputy president exercise any moral authority to make a promise next time? Does that promise, can you take the promise of the president to the bank? Can you take the promise of the deputy president? Does it what the paper is written on? And therefore, even when we are fighting war on corruption also, I also want to believe that if you go to seek for vote from the public and you make false promises, that is also a corruption. You are winning votes under false pretense, in my opinion.
All right. Just to remind guys the story that actually ran on K24 last night. Now, defiant Kandara Member of Parliament Alice Wahome and her Kiharu counterpart Ndini Nyoro say they are not to blame for Sunday's chaos at Kiharu that led to the death of 2 people, even as they defied Inspector of Police General directive to present themselves to the authorities. Now, this comes even as increasing political heat in the country seems to be inevitable, gauging by how the politicians are crisscrossing the country in search of elusive voter support. Now, Murang'a County seems to be gaining huge attention following its heightened political activities, if the latest activities are anything to go by. Now, the region is said to be one of the biggest battles for politics in Kenya.
The political stance taken by both Kieleweke and Tanga factions are seemingly heating up with the latest altercation leading to the death of 2 Kenyans in Kenol, Murang'a County. Come Monday, the legislators accused to causing the violence Kandara legislator Alice Wahome and her Kiharu counterpart Ndini Nyoro were a no-show after being summoned to present self to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations.
No single officer of the government in this particular county has called me. Even our county commissioner. How then have they filed a report to the regional office that I could have anything to do with it? The only way I know I have been involved is that I was the host, and they should be apologizing to the people of Keno and myself.
I have not received any summons. I have only read Twitter handles, Twitter accounts. And I want to tell Matiang'i, Kenoti, Mutiabai, and huyo mwingine anaitwa Kebisho. I am busy, my friends.
Murang'a is not a place of violence. Everybody is welcome, whether you are from which tribe.
Murang'a County is turning out to be a favorable battleground in the lead up to the 2022 general election. The 2 Jubilee factions going against each other, rivaling for supremacy in trying to control the region, with Kandara Member of Parliament Alice Wahome and her Kiharu counterpart Ndini Nyoro taking the center stage in ensuring that the region does not renegade on its support for the Deputy President in an area majorly considered as President Kenyatta's stronghold.
Come 2022, let the people decide. And the people of Kenya, I think, have decided. And we are not religion ourselves on the position that we have taken with whatever form of intimidation, coercion, or persecution.
Late last year, Ndini Nyoro was arrested following an altercation at a Catholic church that pitted the Tanga and the Kieleweke factions. This would to this end be the start of a serious political battle in the vote-rich region, with leaders in the area fronting their favorite candidate.
Na hata watume DSU wengine, mimi sisa support Raila Odinga kwa kuwekewa gun kwa kichwa yangu.
Uhuru ni 10 na ataondoka hapo, na amesema ya Ruto ni ngapi? Ya Ruto ni ngapi?
Leaders in the area led by Governor Mwangi wa Iria now saying they will not tolerate the Tanga antics in the region.
Wajumbe wawili wawache kuonyesha Murang'a ni kama area ya vita. Na hizo area zote zimesemwa na Kimari. Tunajua zote zimeishia na furugu na fujo na vita mingi.
Kama hiyo kanisa, watu wao walikuwa wamejaza kanisa. Kanisa ilikuwa ni kama ya watu 100. Wao walikuwa watu 1000.
In November last year, President Uhuru Kenyatta was forced to cancel his visit to the region over what was termed as political hostility and instead sent Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i on his behalf.
Murang'a people support the president 100%. And by the way, I want to reiterate, some people have been talking of a political bedroom. This is Uhuru Kenyatta bedroom.
Martin Opio.
Well, an area that has been called the president's bedroom, quite the name there. But Arnold, let me just ask you, what is so special about Murang'a that it has become the hotspot right now for politics as far as Jubilee is concerned?
Politics, violence, and all that we are seeing in Murang'a has just found a fertile ground. You know, if you tried to sow a good seed in a desert without water, without all the conditions necessary for germination, it will not germinate. So in Murang'a, two things primarily come out as the enablers to what we are seeing today. Number one, there's a little bit of a history of gang culture in Murang'a, with a bit of Mungiki, a history from that end. So there is a history of gang culture around there. Two, there is a lot of unemployment at the moment.
In Murang'a County? In
Murang'a County, and generally across the country.
Yes.
So the two things actually find a fertile ground. And then there's the historicity of Murang'a being the home of multi-party and radical politics, with Matiba having come from that particular end. So there's a level of where if you're going to spark, if you're going to throw a flame, then you're going to find a lot of fuel to actually go up there. So be that as it may, there are a few things, I would like to actually probably just try to spur your thinking around it. Why, for example, would the deputy president, supposing from those who actually are saying that he did, it is his choreographing to get sympathy and stuff.
Right.
There are three reasons why violence attached to William Ruto in central Kenya is something that William Ruto does not want. And I do not think William Ruto is stupid.
Right.
The three things are these. Number one, if there's going to be violence in Central attached to his name or his events, it comes out clear that William Ruto is dividing the house of Mombi. Therefore, he is a bad person. He should be avoided.
Okay.
William knows that. He will avoid that. Two, if he goes to Central and then there's violence as it was on Sunday, there's the risk that somebody elsewhere in William Ruto's stronghold will not even consult anyone and will want, quote unquote, to retaliate.
Okay.
William Ruto understands that and he will not do that. Number three is that if there's going to be violence wherever he goes to Central, then the most logical thing would be for him to avoid Central. Okay. William Ruto is not stupid and he will not want to actually have that. So it goes back to what I said earlier on. Who would benefit in a scenario where there is violence attached to William Ruto's events? Okay. It's out there, you can actually make the judgment. Right. And we'll actually bring that home. Okay. So I have looked at the papers this morning as I was coming. I looked at a paper that says that it's even naming names without necessarily. Okay. It's actually in the Nation, I think. They're talking about a governor, a woman rep, and the other side also anticipated that there would be violence and they brought in. It is in the papers. And the source that is being quoted in the papers is that is actually security sources and intelligence sources. A few things then will rise. Did the intelligence inform? Was it a failure of intelligence? Okay. Because the president in the past has refused to go to Central when the intelligence told him that he would actually get rowdy. Did the deputy president have the advantage or the benefit of actually having been informed that this could actually have gone bad? Did he ignore that? So if what we are reading in the papers today is anything to go by, that there was intelligence, that even the organizers knew that there was going to be, and the police are acting in a way even a child will actually have told you, will actually have told you beforehand before they acted. Here are two. In every conflict, there are two sides or more than two.
Right.
But in this particular conflict, you would even tell on Sunday where the police were going to act. And by yesterday, you saw their statement and how it moved. Okay. Yet there were two sides to this. So does it mean that one side was sanctioned officially and the other one was wrong?
Let's leave it at that for now as we take a break. I will be coming back to ask you, Joy Mdivo, on the role of the NCIC in all of this and how we can move forward. And of course, why campaigning in Central Province might actually be a problem for the Deputy President. Do stand by. We will be coming back after a short break. Remember, you can dial *550*4# and download the People Daily for only 10 bob. Courtesy of Safaricom, of course, we shall award you 250 shillings worth of airtime. All you have to do is send a screenshot to our WhatsApp number of that purchase. We'll be right back.